Good day everyone, it's me again, Miss Nelia Meren. So for this video, I'm going to discuss to you about the fundamental operations with fractions. To begin, we will have first a discussion how to add fractions. So in adding fractions, we must consider that the fractions being added must be a similar fractions. So what do we mean by similar fractions? Similar fractions are fractions having the same denominators. So in adding similar fraction, we can just simply add the numerator and then write the sum over the common denominator. Let's have this for example. Okay, we have here 3 fractions having the same denominator, which is 15. So these kind of fractions are what we call similar fractions. So in adding this similar fraction, we can just simply copy the denominator and then you add the given numerators. So we add now 2 plus 3 plus 4, that is equal to 9 as our total, and then you copy the denominator 15. Therefore, the result of this process is 9 over 15. So the sum of the fraction, 3 fractions given, 2 over 15 plus 3 over 15 plus 4 over 15 is equal to 9 over 15. Now, there are times that the given fractions don't have the same denominator, and that is what we call as dissimilar fractions. So dissimilar fractions are those fractions to be added or to be subtracted that have different denominators. So in this case, in adding dissimilar fractions, we need first to change them into similar fraction by replacing the denominator with the least common denominator of both two fractions. So the resulting similar fraction, you can now then perform addition to it. Okay, for example, let's have this one, 1 over 8 plus 3/4. As you can see, in the first given fraction, 1 over 8, our denominator is 8. And then for the second fraction, 3 over 4, our denominator is 4. So they are different. So different denominators, meaning you cannot add directly the two fractions. We need first to find the LCM so that we can now get the LCD or the least common denominator for the both fraction. So how to find the LCM? So LCM stands for the least common multiple, meaning we are going to look out for the different multiples of our denominator. So for this example, our denominator 8 has the following multiples. We have 8, 16, and 24. And then for the next denominator, which is 4, its LCM are 4, 8, 12, and 16. So we need to consider the least, meaning the smallest value common to both numbers. So for this example, 8 is the common multiple of both numbers. So 8 will be now our LCD for these two fractions. Next thing, we need to rewrite our original fraction to its corresponding equivalent fraction. Equivalent fraction meaning you are now going to use the LCM as your LCD for the original fraction. So for this example, we have 1/8. Its equivalent having its denominator 8 still 1/8. And then for the second fraction 3/4, so our new denominator must be 8. Then for us to get the equivalent fraction of it, so we divide 8 by the original denominator, which is 4. So 8 divided by 4, that is equal to 2. And then the product, the quotient, you are going to multiply it by the numerator, which is 3. So 2 times 3, that is equal to 6. So meaning the equivalent fraction of the given 1 over 8 is 1 over 8. And then for the second fraction 3/4, its equivalent fraction is 6 over 8. So now we can now have a similar fraction. So we have 1/8 plus 6/8. Then they are similar. You can now perform the operation, which is addition. So you add 1 plus 6, so that is equal to 7. And then you copy the common denominator of both fractions. Okay, now let's have the third example. So adding a whole number and a fraction. So in adding whole number and a fraction, we can just simply, so for this example, we have 10 as our whole number and our fraction is 2/5. So if we are going to add this one, so just simply we have 10 and then you just going to omit the addition symbol and then you write it beside the whole number. So we have now 10 plus 2/5 is equal to 10 and 2/5. So next example is adding a mixed number and then a proper fraction. So in adding a mixed number and a proper fraction, same as adding a proper fraction or the similar fractions, we need first to rewrite the given mixed number into its corresponding improper fraction. So rewriting the given mixed number, we have 2 and 1/8, that would be equal to, so we multiply, so in the previous video we discussed how to change a mixed number to its corresponding improper fraction. So we just going to multiply the whole number by its denominator and then the product must be added to our numerator. So for this example, we multiply 2 and 8, so the result is 16 plus 1. So we have 17 as the new numerator and then we copy the denominator, which is 8. So that is the equivalent form of our given mixed number into its improper fraction form. So you can now rewrite the mixed number part. So we have 17/8 plus 2/5. So we have a dissimilar fraction. So we cannot add directly both two fractions. So we need to rewrite the two fractions into similar fractions. So next thing is to find the LCM of both denominator of the fractions. So we have 8 and 5. So the LCM of 8 and 5, so we have the common plus the least common multiple. So for 8 we have 40 and for 5 we have 40. So meaning 40 now will be our new denominator for the two fractions. So for the equivalent fraction, so we have the first fraction 17/8 having its new denominator, which is 40. So same process earlier, we need to divide the LCM or the LCD, the new denominator of our fraction, by its old or original denominator. So we have 40 divided by 8, that would be equal to 5, and then the result must be multiplied to our numerator, which is 17, so that we can get the equivalent fraction of our given 17/8 is equal to 85/40. So same process for the second fraction. We have 2/5. So we need to find the equivalent fraction for 2/5. That would be 40 divided by 5. It is equal to 8. 8 times 2, that would be equal to 16. So we can now have a similar fraction. So as you can see, similar fractions, you can now add the two fractions. So similar fraction, you can now just write or operate the numerator of our fractions. So we add 85 plus 16, that would be equal to 101. Then you copy the denominator, which is 40. So 101/40. Or it has also a corresponding value into a mixed number form, which is 2 and 21/40. 2 and 21/40 can be get by dividing 101 divided by 40. So we can have 2, and then having a remainder 21. So that's why we have 2 and 21, then copy the denominator 40. So that's it. We have the result of our given fraction. The sum of 2 and 1/8 plus 2/5 is equal to 101 over 40, or 2 and 21 over 40. Okay, so next we have the subtraction of fractions. Actually, the idea of adding and subtracting fractions are the same. You cannot add or you cannot subtract a certain fraction if they have different denominators, meaning they are dissimilar fractions. So you can just only add or subtract a fraction if they are similar fraction. Again, so that is one thing for you to consider. Okay, let's have this for example. So we have 5/10 minus 2/10. So similar or dissimilar? So we have a similar fraction for this example. So same process in addition. If similar fraction, you copy the denominator and then you operate the numerator. So we have 5 minus 2 over 10. So the result is 3 over 10. Okay, same process also if we have dissimilar fractions. So for dissimilar fraction, we need first to change the two fractions into a similar fractions. So we get first the LCM for us to find the new LCD of our two fractions. So for this given, our first fraction 15/20, the denominator is 20. So the LCM for 20, we have 20, 40. Then the second fraction given is 8. The multiples of 8, we have 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. So we have 40 as our LCM, and that will be used as our new denominator for our fractions. So the equivalent fraction of 15/20 having 40 as the new denominator, so that would be equals to 40, 30/40. And then for the second fraction, we have 4/8. That would be equal to 20/40. No? So we are just going to same process earlier in the addition. So we divide 40 by 20. 40 divided by 20 on the first fraction. So 40 divided by 20, that is 2. 2 times 15, that's why we have 30. Then for the second example, second fraction, 4/8, that is 20/40, or we can get the numerator for 20 because 40 divided by 8 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20. So we have the equivalent fraction of the given. So now we can now have a similar fraction, meaning we can now operate the two fractions. So we can perform subtraction of these two fractions. So we copy the denominator 40 and then we subtract 30 minus 20. So the result is 10/40, or we can reduce the result into 1/4 since the numerator and denominator are both multiples of 10. So if we are going to divide both numerator and denominator by 10, the result is 1/4. Okay, another example, if we are going to subtract a whole number and a fraction. So in subtracting a whole number and a fraction, please take note that every whole number has an automatic denominator, which is 1. Because if we are going to divide 25 by 1, of course, the result is 25. Any number divided by 1 is the number itself. So we need, for us to subtract these two fractions, we need first to rewrite the two fraction into similar fraction. So meaning, we need to change the denominator of our whole number into 5, since 5 is the denominator of the given fraction. So 5 divided by 1, that is 5. 5 multiplied by 25,
So the result is 125 over 5. So this is the new form of our whole number. So it is equal to 125 over 5. So you place it 125 over 5, then copy minus 2 over 5. So you can now have two similar fractions. And then you can now perform subtraction. So 125 minus 2 over 5. So the result is 123 over 5. Okay, so simple as that. So we can now have the result for the whole number subtracted by a fraction. Okay, another example is subtracting a mixed number and a proper fraction. It's the same process. If we have a mixed number, we need to change it into its corresponding improper fraction, and then later on you perform, or you are going to look if the two fractions are similar or not. So for this example, we have 2 and 2 8 that is equivalent to our improper fraction 18 over 8. Since 8 times 2, we multiply the denominator and the whole number. We have 2 and 8, that is 16. 16 plus 2, that is 18. That's why we have the new form, or the new form of our mixed number into its improper fraction form. So 18 over 8. Then we copy the second fraction, which is 4 over 5. So next step is to change the two fractions into similar fractions. So same process again. We need to find the LCM. So LCM for both fractions, we have 40. So 40. Okay, so 40, in the first fraction, we have 8 as the denominator. So 40 divided by 8, that is 5. 5 times 18. So we have the new numerator, which is 90. And then for the second fraction, 4 over 5th, we divide 40 divided by 5, that is 8. 8 times 4, that is equal to 32. So we can now have similar fraction, meaning we can now perform the operation. So 90 minus 32 over 40, so that is equal to 58 over 40, or it is equivalent. If we are going to divide the numerator by the denominator, we have a whole number 1 and a remainder 18. So if we are going to rewrite the result into its corresponding mixed number form, that is equal to 1 and 18 over 40. Okay, so that's it for subtracting fractions. Now we will proceed with multiplication of fractions.